Summer Sisters by Judy Blume. It's about two best friends, their relationship over the span of like 20 years. The story begins with a prologue set in the year 1990. And it's a foreshadowing of what is to come with our main characters. You can immediately tell that something important is missing from the information that we get. So we start off with one of our main characters, Victoria, getting a call from one of the other main characters, Caitlyn. Caitlyn is calling Victoria to ask Victoria if Victoria will be her maid of honor in her upcoming wedding, which is news to Victoria because they haven't really talked in a while, these friends. Caitlyn asks Victoria. Victoria's response is like, oh, well, it depends on who you're marrying. Like, she's just joking. And then Caitlyn, in all seriousness, tells Victoria, oh, I'm marrying Brew. I know, I hate this name. I wish I could fucking change it because we're going to have to talk about Brew a few times, unfortunately. But anyway, Caitlyn is like, oh yeah, I'm marrying Brew. I thought you knew. And like, if I'm Victoria, I would have been like, bitch, how was I supposed to know? I didn't even know you were getting married, let alone who you're getting married to. Like, huh? Victoria's like kind of thrown by this fact that Caitlyn is marrying this guy Brew, but she agrees to be the maid of honor and to, come out for the wedding. And when she flies in for the wedding, meets Caitlyn at the airport, and when Caitlyn and her see each other for the first time, they hug, and then Caitlyn makes a remark about how Victoria is all grown up. Like, she looks all grown up. This is like a running theme with them. Like, Caitlyn says this basically every time she sees Victoria. She tells her, like, oh my god, you look so grown up. So you're immediately like, okay, what's the story with the wedding? What's the story with Caitlyn? What's the story with Brew? What's the story with Victoria? You're already intrigued. You're already hooked as a reader. You want to know more, which, when you're reading a book, is like so fucking important because everyone knows reading sometimes sucks. It's hard to keep your attention focused and to really get into a book that's fucking interesting. So, that's the prologue set in 1990. We jump to the first part of this book, which is part 1. It's called Dancing Queen. It's from 1977 to 1980. In our first chapter, our main character, her name is Victoria, which we've already talked about. She gets approached by Caitlyn, our other main character we talked about, at school. Caitlyn approaches Victoria and calls her Vix. So this is the first time we're seeing like a nickname for Victoria, and it's Caitlyn that's giving her this nickname. It's very important because Victoria really wants to like be seen. She wants to be noticed. She's quiet. She's shy. And for like Caitlyn, who's basically like the cool girl, she moved to their school in Santa Fe from Aspen, Colorado, and she's like very worldly. She's traveled all over the place. She's the fucking it girl. So when she comes to their school, everyone is enamored with Caitlyn, like, oh my god, cool it girl. And when Caitlyn decides to befriend Victoria, that's a huge social thing, especially during middle school. So Caitlyn approaches Victoria and asks her, because it's about to be summer, she's like, hey, how would you feel spending the summer with me and my family, like in Martha's Vineyard, basically, is where they fucking live during the summer. She's like, yeah, we have a summer house, it'll be my dad, and it'll just be us for the whole summer. And Victoria is like floored by this because first, Caitlyn's noticing her. The cool girl's noticing her. Second, she's asking to hang out with her, which is crazy. And then third, for the whole summer and in another state. Victoria's like, holy shit, this is crazy. I've only ever been to Tulsa, Oklahoma to visit my estranged grandma. Like, it wasn't even a vacation. It was kind of like a fucking chore. Like, it's one of those trips where you're just along for the ride. Like, your parents are doing some shit and you just have to go along with it, and it's not fun. Like, let's be real, it wasn't anything. So, But her mom, when Victoria brings up this trip to Martha's Vineyard to her mother later that day, her mom makes a point to be like, you've been somewhere. You've been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. But she doesn't run her mouth because her mom's name is Tawny. These names, guys, these names are crazy business. Tawny is basically no bullshit. She doesn't like to fuss over her kids, and she doesn't like when her kids fuss about anything. So that just kind of gives you a picture of a mother figure that she is. So when Victoria brings up this trip, Tawny's like, I don't really know about this. Like, this just seems like too much. Again, it's the fussing. She doesn't want to fuss about this shit. She doesn't want Victoria to be involved in something that would have fuss around it. Her mom is removed from all emotions except anger. Like, she'll snap at anyone and everyone over the smallest things. She blames Victoria for a lot of shit later on. We all know it's because Tawny, her mom, is jealous that Victoria gets to escape their life and Tawny doesn't. It even comes up later when it's Victoria and her sister, after Victoria's mom has just yelled at her. Victoria is looking at her little sister. Her sister's at the table, and her sister's like, you know why she hates you, right? Crazy thing to say out of all of a sudden. And she says, with no emotion, apparently. And then her sister Lainey says, it's because you get to escape and we don't. I mean, I understand both sides of this situation. I understand being resentful because you're stuck living a shitty life, a shitty existence, and someone very close to you has an outlet, an escape from that, and you don't, and you can just see them coming and going, and you know you're just staying in the same exact spot. So I understand, the resentment portion, and I also understand the need to leave, to get away, to want to escape. Especially that family. The family dynamic is very fascinating because the book is written through different perspectives. For the most part, it is from Victoria's perspective. Every chapter usually starts with Victoria or has Victoria in it to some degree. But in other parts, we see other characters' perspectives. Like, we do see her mom's perspective. But all of these characters are unreliable narratives because none of them, like, we don't know the full story of everyone, and not everyone is saying the full story. People are only giving certain amount of details or not the full truth. Victoria, she keeps her feelings and emotions to herself, and it's because of her parents, because her mom is so cold and removed from her emotions. It's kind of instilled in Victoria, like, I'm not going to show my emotions. Her mom, from a very young age, kind of gave her a talk of emotions are useless. The mothers in these stories have definitely, I mean, as all mothers do, shape the characters. Because Tawny, because she's emotionally constipated, basically, it's the same thing with Victoria. And Tawny, I think, really sees herself in Victoria, and because she sees that similarity, and because Victoria gets an opportunity to escape her family, it makes Tawny, like, fucking irate, because it's basically like, well, I could have done that type shit, or what's preventing me from doing the same, or whatever. Victoria has 3 younger siblings. It's a point that Victoria is the first of her siblings to survive past birth and past infancy. There were 3, I believe, babies prior to that didn't make it, and when Victoria and her sister kind of try to broach Tawny about that, Tawny's like, doesn't want to talk about it, of course. She doesn't want to talk about it. When Victoria kind of asks, like, any questions, she's like, you know what happened. And it's like, no, I don't. Because I'm a kid, and, like, I don't really understand what happened. But when Tawny says to stop talking about something, they stop talking about it. So, motherhood or life in general has made Tawny very hard. She wants her children to be set up for all of the hardships of life, because Tawny knows the hardships firsthand, obviously having miscarriages and then eventually having 4 kids and the last child that they have, Nathan, has cerebral palsy. So she knows a little bit about hardships, but she doesn't feel the need to, like I said, fuss over her children. That's just not her way. Tawny works as a personal assistant to a character called the Countess. So this is a character that's wealthy, that has a lot of opportunities, that Tawny is now getting very close to. She has a job with her. So anytime the Countess, she's like basically a rich person. Anytime she wants to throw a party or go or do anything, Tawny is there because she's her personal assistant. So she'll plan the party, she'll put on everything, she'll plan the trips, she'll go with her on trips. Interesting. Okay. We'll come back to that. We'll circle back to that. And this is the family's main source of income because the Countess is fucking wealthy. So she pays Tawny pretty well. And then with Victoria's dad, her dad, his name is Ed. She describes him as kind, but very reserved. He does his best to support the family by working as a manager for a hotel in their local town, but he doesn't make that much money. So when things get tough, he tries to get a second job or find another source of income for his family. So he'll find odd jobs here and there, whatever he can to help out, especially because they have a child with special needs. That can be expensive. Ed is very quiet and he, for the most part, stays out of most of the conversations. Tawny is the one that directs the family, that runs the ship, that keeps things moving. He just kind of goes where she tells him to go. And he tries to treat his kids with kindness because he had a hard childhood. His dad died when he was young, and then his mother quickly remarried to a deadbeat widower who had 3 younger kids. How Ed describes it is as his dad died, and for like 3 years, I believe, his mom made it a point to make him the man of the house, even though he was a child, and she would always call him my little man, and he very much resented that. And then he said, then all of a sudden, one day, she tells me that she's getting married one of these weekends, or like this weekend, to a man I've never met. A widower with 3 children younger than me. And when Ed's mom remarries, his stepdad fucking hates him, because of course. And the kids are mean, and it's because the dad is mean to Ed. So they tease him. He's there, but he's not saying anything. So they're like, what's up with Eddie? Why doesn't he talk? Cat's got his tongue? No, I think Cat's got his dick. Like, that's what they say. And after that, he makes a point to never speak in front of them. And then eventually Ed says that his mom has twins with this guy. She remarried, and Ed is basically like, I don't really fuck with this guy. And I get it. Like, yeah, his kids suck, he sucks, everyone in this scenario sucks, so why would Eddie or Ed be on board with this guy? His mom basically is like, we need him, like, he's gonna take care of us, like, you don't understand, he's gonna take care of us, and we need the money. And then come to find out, Ed says that his stepdad didn't take care of them, his mom did, and she worked herself to an early grave. She died before 50. And he was like, but it didn't really make a difference to him because he enlisted as soon as he turned 18. So again, there's a running theme of escape. Everyone's trying to fucking escape their lives. So Ed escapes and enlists in the military. Shortly thereafter, he meets Tawny. When he meets Tawny, he describes her as a woman who knew her mind. So to him, Tawny is the complete opposite of his mom. Somebody that's very wishy-washy, that depends on, men for finances, for whatever. And Ed is not attracted to that at all, obviously. So he hard pivots, and instead of finding someone like his mom, he decides to get with Tawny. And he decides that he will be a good father to his kids because he never really got that. And for the most part, he pretty much is. Like, he's kind to his kids. He takes care of them. He's there for them. He advocates for them when he can, even when it's against Tawny. Like, for instance, with Victoria, when she's asking to go on this trip to Martha's Vineyard, he's the one that ultimately wins the fight with Tawny and says, like, let her live. She's a kid, like, let her enjoy her life. And it's not like we're paying for it. It's like, girl, come on. But, and I understand this part. Tawny is like, Ed doesn't even know this, but as soon as Victoria gets a taste of this life with Caitlyn, we're gonna lose her. She's never coming back to us. It's gonna change forever. And it does. I mean, it completely does this first summer. So they decide that Victoria and Caitlyn can go on this trip. They end up going to Martha's Vineyard. They fly, Caitlyn and Victoria. And Caitlyn is making fun of Victoria because this is the first time Victoria's ever been on a plane. So she's, teasing her like, I can't even, how can you live 12 years on this earth and never have been on a plane? And then Victoria on the plane reveals to Caitlyn, oh yeah, and I've never seen the ocean. And then Caitlyn starts digging into her again. What do you mean? 12 years, you've never seen the ocean? And it becomes like kind of a bit because Victoria obviously grew up in a very tight radius. Like, she only really knew Santa Fe. So the first summer, Victoria makes it a point to bring up that Caitlyn doesn't tell the truth all the time. That she likes to give kind of half-truths or, not fully give all the details. So Victoria's first taste of this is when they get to Martha's Vineyard. They arrive and they get picked up by Caitlyn's dad. Caitlyn also has a brother who she never mentioned and a dog. The brother part, that's the part that Victoria gets kind of hung up on. It's like, why didn't you mention that you had a brother? And this is like her full brother. They have the same mom, same dad. So it's weird that she's never mentioned him before. So when they all meet at the airport, that's when Caitlyn finally is like, oh yeah, this is my brother. His name, it's a nickname, guys. It's another nickname. It's not a good one. His nickname is Sharky because he's afraid of sharks. The dad, his name is Lamb. Lamb, because his full name is Lambert, but he goes by Lamb. Okay, I would rather you go by Bert. The names are just wild and out with Nick Cannon. So Caitlyn is like, yeah, this is my brother. He's like 2 years older than them, and he lives full-time with my dad. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why does he live full-time with your dad? What happened with your mom? And then you come to find out, like, through Sharky's perspective, is as soon as his parents split up, he decided that he wanted to be with his dad. He knew what kind of mother his mom was. Caitlyn and Sharky's mom, her name is Phoebe. She is like a free spirit. This is in the 70s, 1977, when we start out. Caitlyn describes her dad as like, he used to be a hippie, and then her mom, kind of same thing, like confusion as to why they got together. But because they're both not really serious people, it didn't work out. They're both not responsible. They both don't hold one another accountable. And yeah, we see that consistent throughout. Even though they're not together, they're still not being held accountable for their actions, which is crazy. Caitlyn and Victoria's first summer together is really intense because they are both getting freedom. I think for Victoria for the first time. Caitlyn, she's kind of always had a freedom because her parents, again, don't really pay any attention to her and her brother. They obviously make sure they're fed, but like other than that, they don't really give a fuck about what they're doing. Victoria makes a point to describe how nasty, disgusting, stinky, smelly these kids are when she fucking goes on this vacation with them, because the whole time they're not showering. Caitlyn is not taking a shower or wiping her ass, and they're there with the dad. He doesn't give a shit. Like, he does not care at all. So very weird. Very, like, what the fuck? So you can see there's neglect. It's obviously, he's not abusing them, but like, that's a level of abuse. If you're not making sure your kids are washing themselves and taking care of themselves properly, and when he would feed them, it would be like, it wouldn't be like full like meals. It would be like random shit. Like, remember, they're on a fucking island. So they're going fishing. He's taking them on fishing trips and cooking that fish for dinner. And that's what they're eating. Their first summer is very intense. It gives both of these girls just enough permission to act out in their own ways. Caitlyn's life of being unsupervised is benefiting both of them. Caitlyn and her family, like we know, offer Victoria an escape. During this first summer, we get introduced to Caitlyn's dad, Lamb. He brings over a love interest one of the nights that they're like at the house. Or he doesn't bring her. First, he says he's going on a trip to Boston. Caitlyn's dad lives full-time in Boston, in Massachusetts. So he says one of the days that he's making a trip to Boston, he has to like go for like whatever, work or some bullshit, whatever. So he goes to Boston and kind of leaves the kids to their own devices as per usual, honestly. And then he's supposed to come back that night, but he doesn't. He ends up calling and telling them that he's just going to stay the night, that the weather's too bad at the airport for him to like fly in. Whatever. Okay. When that happens, the kids are left on their own. It's Sharky, the oldest, Caitlyn's brother, and then the two girls. And Sharky takes the girls that night, like he takes them in the truck, like down the beach or something. And he reveals to Caitlyn that Lamb is probably with this girl named Abby. And Caitlyn is like, who the fuck is Abby? And Sharky's like, basically like his girlfriend. And Caitlyn's like, what the fuck? What do you mean a girlfriend? So Caitlyn is automatically, she fucking hates her. She's an op. She hasn't even met her. The next day, Lamb comes back, and in tow, he's got Abby. He's brought her to the house. And so immediately Caitlyn is like pitching a fucking fit. She's just being a little brat. She starts acting out in like the most inappropriate ways because, mind you, Lamb had a fling on the island that Caitlyn knew about. And I think that's a little bit why Caitlyn is like upset. She's like, why are you with Abby when you should have gotten with, her name's Trisha, this woman, because Caitlyn likes her. And because Caitlyn knows that Trisha and Lamb used to have a relationship, a sexual relationship, she starts immediately laying into Abby about all of the things that her dad and his ex-girlfriend or whatever used to be up to. Oh yeah, she would say shit like cunnilingus and like stuff like the you know, the scientific term, but she was really trying to get under Abby's skin. Like, yeah, they be fucking, they probably fucked like a couple days ago, like while you weren't here. And so Abby, of course, is like telling Lamb, like, yo, you need to get your girl. And Lamb is like, she's a kid, leave her alone. Again, not being held accountable. And when he's being held accountable, he has fucking excuses. It's always the thing with him. So yeah, Abby gets thrown into the mix. And then Abby has a son named Daniel, who's around the same age as Lamb's kids. I think he's like between their ages. So now every summer Abby is coming along with Daniel and Daniel's friend. Daniel wants to bring a friend like Caitlyn has, and he fights with his mom about it and then ultimately wins. So it's Daniel and his friend Gus, another great name. First summer that they hang out, the girls start doing some little freaky shit together. They start like rubbing on each other, and they're 12. So they're doing some weird shit. I don't think it's anything. They're not like touching each other, their actual bodies, but they're like rubbing up against each other, and they notice when they do that, when they rub up against each other, they get, you know, a tingly sensation, and they call it the power. These children, okay? And that's the feeling that they get, is the power, okay? So they put a name to it, and they sometimes do this, like, they'll lay on, it's like laying on top of each other and, like, moving around, basically. And then one night, they're, like, doing that, and Caitlyn's brother walks in, and then they're like, fuck! And then they end up, like, never doing that, like, around the house or some shit. Abby comes into the mix because Caitlyn doesn't like Abby. Abby starts kind of, I guess, adopting Victoria. So she'll start talking to Victoria about her likes and her interests. She knows that Victoria is very smart. She knows that she's very driven. And Victoria is actually willing to talk to Abby, unlike Caitlyn. And Abby very much Abby's whole MO is like, she's always wanted a daughter, but she never could have one, or like, it obviously didn't work out for her. It wasn't in the cards. Basically, she wants to be the mother that is everything to her kids. She's very weird. She starts to really zero in on Victoria, and eventually starts making a play for Victoria to start getting like scholarships and doing certain things, and like she just becomes very vested in Victoria's future, and it becomes a thing throughout where like Victoria is deemed the daughter that they never had, while Caitlyn is in the house. So as these like summers start to progress, Caitlyn starts to view Victoria as her competition. She wants to pass certain life markers first. Caitlyn wants to have her period first. She wants to get her boobs first. She wants to do all of these things, have sexual experiences first. She wants to beat Victoria at life. She wants to be better than her. And I can relate as a young girl, especially in middle school, high school. Girls are raised to view each other as competition, always. Especially for male attention. It's just really sad how that just always comes into play. And yeah, we really see it hit its stride with these two girls. Because even though Caitlyn wants to do all these things first, naturally, Victoria is the one that hits all these markers first. She's the one that gets her period first. She's the one that starts getting her boobs, and not just boobs, huge tits. Whereas Caitlyn gets boobs, but she's more flat-chested. So it's very, you start to see the dynamic, and like, it's not anyone's fault. Like, it's not like Victoria's going out of her way. It's just the cards that you're dealt. So every time that Victoria starts to pass these checkpoints, Caitlyn starts getting more and more envious of her. Victoria is on the more tame, rule-following side, and she never wants to upset anyone on the island because she's scared that she'll be found out as the imposter and then kicked off the island and not allowed to be there. That's kind of why she's also like feeding into Abby's attention and wanting to play certain roles, and tries to keep Caitlyn in check, because Caitlyn is very sporadic and impulsive, and she's not looking out for herself ever. No one is. And that becomes a thing where Caitlyn starts to notice that Victoria worries about her, and she likes that Victoria worries about her because nobody else does. So it really establishes a certain dynamic between these two. And Victoria tries to keep Caitlyn like responsible, trying to get them like summer jobs, trying to make sure that they're staying out of trouble, basically. And Caitlyn is not trying to do that. She's trying to meet cute boys. She's trying to do stuff with cute boys, sexual things. She wants to no longer be a virgin. She's very much trying to grow up before she needs to. She's a wild card. There's one point where Victoria and Caitlyn get summer jobs working as like cleaning ladies or cleaning girls. They'll go to people's houses and clean them. And one of the houses that they get assigned is, or I don't think it was a cleaning house. I think they had that job, and then they also like had babysitting gigs or some shit. Anyway, they meet this couple. They're both actors. The guy is a little bit more successful than the woman, and the woman is pregnant. And the guy, mind you, these girls are 12, 13 years old. This guy starts really taking a liking to Caitlyn, so much so that one of the nights he drives them both home, and instead of driving them to their house, he pulls off to like a dark road with both of them in the car. And Victoria is like so me-coded, because I would be like, how the fuck Am I getting out of here? Like, I would immediately start panicking if I was with a grown-ass man in the middle of nowhere. Like, it was just insane. And he's trying to, like, he pulls them over there and is only talking to Caitlyn because he saw Caitlyn and Victoria talking to two boys that are, like, on the island. They're older boys, and he got jealous that they were giving the girls attention. So this guy, his name's Tim, tells Caitlyn, don't be talking to those boys. You don't need to be interacting with those boys. They're bad news. They're trouble. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you're trouble, brother. You're being weird. Victoria, I think, ends up freaking out on him because she's like, what the fuck? Like, we need to get home and you're being weird. And he ends up, like, firing them because, of course, Victoria's like, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I don't want to be around him anyways. Like, he was creepy. And Caitlyn, instead of being nervous, scared, or whatever, she's excited. She likes the attention that older men give her. Yeah, and she likes the danger that it brings to her life. It's exciting. Eventually, the two girls start going through puberty, and then as they go through puberty, there's two boys that live on the island that are older than them. They're 4 years older. 4 years. Remember that? They start, like, kind of seeing each other, like, when the girls are, like, 17, they're hanging out with the boys. 17 years old. Yeah. I mean, I was no saint at 17, but I was not fucking around with older boys. Hey, I'm uncomfortable. As soon as I know that these two boys are older than them, I don't like that. So these two boys, our first one is, they called him National Treasure. That's what they called him. His name is Vaughn. And they call him National Treasure because he's gorgeous, because he's stunning, because he's beautiful, and they have a crush on him. And they invent a game, something with Vaughn, and it's them rubbing up against each other, pretending that the other one is Vaughn. And it's like, girl. They stop doing that, though, by the time they're 17. Like, they nip that in the butt. I think it was like a year of them doing that, and then they ultimately decide to bury that. They build these sand sculptures of themselves with the tits and all, and they let the water come and wash them, and then they're like, okay, we've been cleansed of these secret Simmer sisters. The most childish thing you could ever imagine. And then we jump to, which is in the spring of 1982. It's called The Rapture because, oh boy, does shit go down. So the first summer back in 1982, the girls, Caitlyn is 17 and Victoria is about to turn 17. She turned 17 in the summer. Before they go on their summer trip, Caitlyn tells Victoria that she's no longer a virgin, that she lost her virginity during spring break to an Italian ski instructor. Chat. Do we believe her? Because we shouldn't. Okay? So, she brings that news, and then in the summertime, when they're back on the island, Caitlyn, it seems like because Caitlyn has lost her virginity, she's like opened up a portal to like constantly being horny and wanting to have sex all the time. And then she starts pressuring Victoria to also start having sex. Like, she's like, you should do it. You need to do it. Get it over with. Like, you need to start having experiences and shit like that. And Victoria, again, is like the more prudish of the two, is like, what the fuck? Like, why do I need to do any of that? Anyways, so Caitlyn, for Victoria's 17th birthday, the girls decide to hang out with the two older boys and to hang out on the beach, to get a little loose. Let's smoke some weed. Fuck yeah. Let's drink some beer. Okay. So they get a little loose. Okay. Victoria has never partaken in any kind of substance. So she is out of it, to be frank. I don't know what the weed was like back in the 80s, but I'm sure it was crazy. She's fucked up. She's out of her mind. And all of a sudden, like, they're hanging out, and then all of a sudden she's getting like kissed and like felt up on by somebody, and she doesn't know who it is because she's so out of it and drunk and like intoxicated. But she eventually like breaks away from whoever it is, and then like there's a scene where they go back to the house. Victoria is like still disoriented, and it ends up confronting Caitlyn about it because she's like, what the fuck was that? Like, basically what ended up happening was Caitlyn decided to take it upon herself to get Victoria laid for her birthday, to have her get her virginity taken. And not by the boy that Victoria actually likes, which is Brew. Remember Brew? So instead of, the guy Victoria actually likes, Caitlyn is like, oh no, how about Vaughn? I mean, Victoria also did have a crush on Vaughn, but it's like Caitlyn was literally like dating Vaughn during that time, and for her to be like, yeah, just fuck my boyfriend, basically, so you can lose your virginity. A bit strange. So Victoria, when she finds out that's kind of what Caitlyn was planning on doing, she fucking freaks out, and like rightfully so, bro. Like, I would flip shit too if my friend basically was trying to get me like fucking raped. That's what it sounded like, because she was under the influence. She wasn't even in her right mind to consent. So yeah, after that, Victoria gets pissed off at Caitlyn and leaves the house during the summer, and ends up like, she stays on the island because she doesn't want to like freak out her parents, and then she also doesn't want to leave the island. Like, she doesn't want to go back home, but she doesn't want to be with Caitlyn. So she ends up, because she has a job, a summer job, she ends up staying with Trisha, Caitlyn's dad's ex-flame, on her boathouse, and she ends up like kind of doing her thing over there. And then Caitlyn is kind of like not remorseful. Never really is, honestly. She's just such a character, and we never get any of the chapters from Caitlyn's perspective. She's the one perspective we never ever see into, like, what's our POV. And I think that just really emphasizes the mystery of her. There's a lot of stuff that goes on between this. So in the time between all of these summers, Caitlyn ends up going to a private school. So now Victoria and her are no longer at the same school. But Abby, Caitlyn's stepmom, eventually, starts to make a play for Victoria. Well, how about we just get you a scholarship and we cover the cost of the tuition, and you can go to this private school in Santa Fe with Caitlyn. And at first, it's kind of like, especially with Tawny, Victoria's mom, she doesn't want Victoria to say yes to it, but at the same time, it's like, you're not paying for it, and this is a good opportunity. You know what I mean? So they ultimately end up letting her go to this private school, and then Victoria is very, very smart, so Abby uses her connections to see if she can get Victoria a scholarship to Harvard University. And she does. So Victoria goes to Harvard. She's kind of doing the thing that she's always supposed to be doing, go to college, kill it, eventually meet somebody, settle down, get married. Like, she's trying to do that, the responsible American dream, whereas Caitlyn takes the complete different route and decides not to go to college. She's going to travel, study abroad. She's going to do her own thing. And the reason that she can do this, the reason that they have this house on the island, is because they are trust fund babies. Their dad has a trust fund, and their well never runs dry. Okay? So Caitlyn is bopping, flitting around all over the world. She's anywhere and everywhere but on the island. And during Victoria's Harvard years, she's still seeing Brew. Remember Brew?
Wish I didn't.
He tries to say, oh, I'll wait for you. When she's 17, I'll wait for you. And then I believe, like, shortly thereafter, like, they do end up fucking. Like, come on. They end up having sex, and like their relationship for the most part is only physical. I hate to be like that, but it's really, Victoria even says it, like, I don't even know if we have anything in common. She knows that he's not the guy for her. He's not the one, but she wants him to be the one. And it's really sad the way that she tries to like force this relationship. And like they're young. She's young. So yeah, while she's at Harvard, Caitlyn is fucking around. Victoria ends up, forgiving her for what happened with Vaughn and like the whole sex thing. They start this relationship of like their two ships passing each other at the port or whatever. Because they're never in the same place at the same time. And if they are, it's for somebody's birthday or like an event or something. But Caitlyn is usually never really around. And so Abby's fully investing her motherliness into Victoria, and Victoria is gonna obviously take it because her mom's not being motherly to her. Like, fuck Tawny. Yeah, and that we will come back to her in a minute, okay? Because really, fuck Tawny in a second. Okay, so while Victoria is at fucking Harvard, her brother Nathan, sweet baby brother, cerebral palsy, gets pneumonia and dies. And Victoria, she was the closest to Nathan, so this completely rocks her fucking world. Like, she's distraught, completely like broken by this, and has to like take some time away to like deal with this whole thing. I don't know if this is while she was at Harvard, but like it's basically while she's like an adult. She's not at the house. And yeah, so she ends up coming home for a little bit because obviously like her brother just died. Caitlyn asks her, "Are you going to come back for the summer?" And Victoria tells Caitlyn no. And then Caitlyn asks Victoria, "Well, what about Brew? Like, what are you going to tell him?" And then Victoria tells Caitlyn, "Can you, as my friend, tell him what's going on? Like, give him the, let him know what's happening with me." Because, again, this is not like, we don't have phones where we can text. I mean, we have phones where we can call. But she's like, yeah, can you just tell him whatever? Okay, girl. After Nathan dies, Victoria's brother, her mom, MIA, she starts taking trips with the Countess all over and stops coming around. Mind you, she has 2 other children in her home. 2 kids. One of them is like 15, the other one's like 17 or 18. But like they're still in her house, like, so she completely abandons these children and like kind of blames it on like the fact that Nathan died. And I get it, like that must have been devastating, but for her to fully abandon her other 2 living children is crazy. Connie basically like doesn't really come around anymore, and it really fucks up, I think, the other 2. Lainey, who is Victoria's younger sister, ends up getting pregnant at 15 and then has a baby the next year. So she has 2 kids under the age of 2 by the time she's 17 years old. Insane. And then she gets married, of course, because that's what she's supposed to do. Duh. And the dad is a piece of shit. Of course, right? Because duh. So Lainey's life is turning out to be kind of a shitstorm. And she starts to resent Victoria even more for all the opportunities that she gets to have while Lainey is now being a teen mom forced into poverty. Girl. And then Lewis, their brother, enlists in the army or whatever when he's 18. He does what his dad did and gets the fuck out of there. So he's not really around either. He's doing his own shit. And then Victoria graduates Harvard. She wants to work in PR, so she starts fucking working in PR. She gets a goddamn job, and she's like successful. She's doing it. She's fucking around with guys in New York. They moved to New York. Her and her roommates from college, who are actual real friends to her, who really keep her in check and like are nice and good I mean, sometimes they're annoying, but that's normal with all friends. And yeah, Victoria is doing good. She's doing it. And then all of a sudden, or no, she's still dating Brew. They're still seeing each other. And then it all kind of comes to a head because Victoria gets offered a job in New York. I forgot this part. She gets offered a job in New York. So we're going backwards now. And she meets up with Brew and he proposes to her. She's 22 years old and he's like, yeah, I want to get married and I want to have babies. So you're the one I want to do it with. Are you going to do it? Yes or no? I need to know now. And she's kind of like, I don't know. Like, I'm still trying to figure out. Because mind you, again, he's 4 years older than her. So yeah, of course, he's more ready than she is. But whatever. And it all kind of comes to a boiling point because she doesn't want to get married to him. And she tells him that, like, I don't think this is what we're going to do. And she's like, can we not get married? But, like, can we stay together? And he's like, no, of course not. And she's like, okay, then I guess not. And she's like, well, like, if we did get married, would you be able to move to New York? And he was like, no, I told you I'm never leaving the island. And that's like basically the only compromise. The only compromise that he gives her is he installed a phone and some other shit for her. Oh, how sweet. Thanks. I'll live on this island forever with you. So she's like, yeah, no. And then they break up. Okay. After they break up, Brew does his own crazy shit. Mind you, while they were together, he was not faithful to her. He was cheating on her. So, I don't know why he was trying to get married to her anyways. They break up, and then he goes right back to the same bitch he was fucking when he was cheating on Victoria. It's the same girl. Her name's Star. She works at the food store. Anyway. Victoria's doing her shit. She ends up meeting a, like, Wall Street type guy. He's fucking wealthy. She ends up fucking around with him. And then, ultimately, he's like, yeah, I don't think this is it for me. Because we, again, don't have anything in common. Good for her. Because she got a lot of shit out of it. He was buying her stuff, you know what I mean? She's doing her big girl job. And then she gets a call from some lady named Frankie. And she's like, who the fuck is this? And it turns out it's her dad's now new girlfriend. Yeah, so Frankie calls Victoria and tells Victoria, your dad's in the hospital. He had a heart attack. So Victoria's like, fuck. So she goes home. Luckily, he has surgery. It's not a major heart attack. They've removed the blockage. He's gonna be fine. Victoria is in town and she's like, okay, I'm gonna call my mom and tell her what's going on with her husband. So she calls her mom and tells her what's going on, and then her mom kind of gives her a dry response, something along the lines of like, I wish him well, or like something like that. Very dry and very like, that was your husband and you don't have more to say. You're not even asking like any follow-up. Like, you don't really give a fuck. So Victoria lays into her and is like, well, I thought you would care about your husband. Like, and then that's when Tawny reveals to Victoria, we're divorced. And then Victoria's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you're fucking done with us forever, and like hangs up on her. Which, honestly, felt. So then, while Victoria's back home visiting with her, she wants to help out with her dad, her sister comes to town to visit because she wants to see her dad too. And her sister brings her 2 little kids, and Victoria is like, okay, I'll watch the kids while, you know, you visit with dad. So she takes the 2 kids. One of them can talk, okay? Important. Because when Victoria starts hanging out with these little kids, they start talking mad shit to Victoria. They start saying crazy shit like, yeah, you're the rich, like, my mom says that you're rich and you don't care about us. That you have all this money and you don't do anything to help us. And my mom works 2 jobs and da-da-da-da, and, like, completely, like, she's like 5 years old, completely like just going in on Victoria, and Victoria's trying not to beef with this little 5-year-old because she knows it's not her speaking, it's her mom. all the stuff that her mom told her. So she's trying not to get, like, worked up, but she's also trying to set shit straight with her. Like, I'm not rich. Like, I don't know why your mom's telling you that. And, like, I do want to help out. Like, stuff like that. She's trying to defend herself. But it's honestly a moot point. Because, like, Lainey will never understand or empathize with Victoria because of how shitty Lainey's life is. Like, this is just never going to happen for her. And she's a teen mom. We know from experience, teen parents, they are stunted, especially like the age that they become parents. Like, if you're becoming a parent at 15, your mentality is going to be a 15-year-old's forever, I think. So that was one thing. Victoria's catching strays everywhere because first she's getting into it with Tawny, then Lainey's kids to saying some crazy shit, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna give these kids back, and then I'm gonna go, like, to the store. Like, I need to get out of here type shit. When she goes to the grocery store, Victoria, she bumps into Caitlyn's mom, Phoebe, the flighty one, the fun time. And Victoria makes it a point to be like, Phoebe just starts talking, and it's like, are you talking to me? Like, what? It's just very weird. And then you see why Caitlyn is the way that she is, because her mom is the same fucking way. Like, when she wants the attention from you, she'll get it. And if she doesn't want the attention, same thing. Like, the way that these girls operate is crazy. So anyway, this is where we get some of the gossip about the wedding, okay? Phoebe tells Victoria that Caitlyn's getting married. Victoria drops whatever has in the fucking aisle because she's so shook by this. Like, what the fuck? What do you mean Caitlyn? Flight verse, Caitlyn is getting married? Cut to Caitlyn calling and asking, will you be my maid of honor in my marriage to Brew, your ex-boyfriend? Remember, I told you to hold on to that, remember? Yep. Because I remember that was at the back of my head this whole time. I was like, how is it that Caitlyn ends up marrying this guy? Because math ain't mathin' the whole time. Anyways, it's revealed that Caitlyn and Brew are getting married. So Caitlyn does this. Victoria's trying to be the brave one and, like, bless her heart, is trying to just be a friend, and then she's trying to be reasonable. Like, me and Brew broke up years ago. Like, it's fine. Like, she's trying to be rational about this. She's trying to put it to bed. She wants closure. And that's what her friends are like. One of her friends, like, you shouldn't go because this is a bad idea because this is crazy. And I'm kind of on that friend side. Like, I don't know if I would have necessarily gone. I understand why she went because she did. I understand the feeling of wanting to see this through, like, but it's just so crazy, girl. It's insane to do this. So yeah, she goes to the reception, and the reception, every fucking one there knows the history between Victoria and Brew. So every time she bumps into somebody, they're asking her, how are you doing? Are you okay? And she's like, bro, like, cause yeah, I know. Hey, I know. She sees Vaughn for the first time in years. He has a wife and a couple of kids, I believe, and the wife is pregnant again. He doesn't fucking love her. The girl, I think her name's Patty, when she meets Victoria, she has, like, a word vomit episode and just tells Victoria all of, like, the crazy shit that Vaughn has done to her, like, this whole time. Like, he cheats on her all the time. Like, he's not a good fucking dad. Like, what? She starts, like, laying all this shit out, and Victoria's like, what the fuck? Like, why do I care? But it's kind of, I think that was in part on Judy Blume, the author's part, to really nail into Victoria. Like, Vaughn is basically the same as Brew. They're cousins, okay? They're cousins, and they're both doing the same kind of shit. Vaughn is cheating on his pregnant wife, and Brew has cheated on Victoria and is probably going to cheat on his new wife, right? So it's kind of, I see why this is closure now, because yeah, it's kind of like I'm dodging a bullet. If I were Victoria, I'd be like, God, thank God. So anyways, they're at the reception. She bumps into Gus, the old family friend from the summer, and they start talking, and he's like, he's always had a crush on Victoria, and he tells her like she still looks damn good because she's got them titties out. Because yeah, if I have a fat stack and I'm going to my ex-boyfriend's funeral, it's about to be. But if I'm going to my ex-boyfriend's wedding, to my best friend, I'm going to come correct. I'm going to come showing up and showing out, because fuck you. What do you mean? Like, I know I didn't want to marry you, but like, are you for real? Anyway, so she meets Gus, and she's like, kind of like, oh my god, like Gus, like he's kind of gotten grown up with age, you know, like he, you know, like she's kind of like, he's kind of cute, but nothing really comes of it. They're just like catching up, whatever. At the end of the night, Caitlyn decides to take Victoria home. Like she's gonna drop her off, and Victoria's like, oh, I'm surprised you're not gonna go spend the night with Brew, your man, your husband, basically. And Caitlyn is like, oh yeah, it's not good luck for the couple to see each other the night before. Well, some bullshit like that, which I've heard, but like, okay. And then Caitlyn kind of lets it slip, like, I think this is a mistake type shit. Like, I think I'm making a mistake. And Victoria's kind of like trying to press her about it, trying to get more out of her, but then Caitlyn quickly shuts down and is like, no, it's fine. Everything's cool. And then she kind of asks Victoria for her permission for the first time for this marriage to Brew. Like, you know, I figured it would be a little bit awkward or some shit like that. And Caitlyn reveals that Brew and her have had a long history, actually. That this is not just a couple years in the making. This, it just like when everything happened with Victoria and him breaking up, and then her coming back to the island, Caitlyn coming back to the island, it just like they fell into like their old ways or some shit. So yeah, Caitlyn reveals that whenever Victoria asked her friend Caitlyn, after her brother Nathan died, to give Brew the message of, my brother died, so I'm not coming to the summer. I'm not coming to the island for the summer. Caitlyn tells her, yeah, I went to him to tell him everything, and yeah, it just happened. It just happened? You just fell on his dick? Like, what do you mean it just happened? And then Caitlyn, this is not even the end of it. Caitlyn's like, yeah, why did you think I stopped coming back to the island after that? So this is the reason why Caitlyn is always going all over the world, is because she knows that if she comes back to the island, she's gonna fuck Brew while Victoria was with him. Like, that's crazy business to admit. And so Victoria is like floored by this. Oh, I forgot to reveal. This is actually really juicy. So before we find out about this whole thing, Caitlyn reveals. Caitlyn asks for permission basically like after the fact. Like Brew and Caitlyn are about to get married. It's like the day of when she kind of asks for permission. So the night before, when she drops her off, when she says this is a mistake, that conversation, Caitlyn drops off Victoria. Victoria gets out of the car. When Caitlyn drives off, Victoria's walking up to the house. She sees a fucking man approach her. We all know whose man it is. Brew immediately, they like, I don't even know what words were even said. It honestly doesn't even matter what words were said, because they're immediately on each other. They're making out. He ends up taking her to his fucking wherever the fuck. They end up fucking. She leaves before he wakes up. Victoria's like beside herself, because she's like, what the fuck did I just do? Like, oh my god. Because she had a few drinks the night before, because of course she was trying to get loose, because everyone and their mom was asking her, are you okay? Are you okay? About her ex-boyfriend marrying her best friend. So like, yeah, she's gonna get a little fucking drunk, and she might fuck him. Sorry. So yeah, she does that. So she's beside herself. She feels bad. She feels guilty. That is when Caitlyn, this moment where she's like, okay, she meets up with Caitlyn. Caitlyn is asking for her permission, and she's like, I'm going to tell her during this conversation. I'm going to tell Caitlyn what happened, and, you know, I'm going to be a good friend. But before Victoria can reveal what happened, Caitlyn breaks the news about that summer years ago, about how she lost her virginity to Brew, and how, yeah, she hasn't been around ever since because she didn't want to get in the way of these two. Okay. So when she drops that bomb, when Caitlyn says that, Victoria is like, you know what? I'm not going to tell her. And honestly, I would have done the same. Hey, tit for tat at this point. Y'all are just bouncing back and forth between this guy. So, yeah, they get married. Brew and Caitlyn get married, and Victoria watches, and they do the whole thing, and it's corny. And then a year later, Caitlyn has a baby, and they name her Maisie, which is actually a really cute name. I love that name. And Caitlyn, she was having a really hard time, which of course she was. This is Caitlyn we're talking about. Falling into motherhood. She's not really the most responsible mother. She didn't really have guidance in that sense from her mother, so she doesn't really know how to navigate it. But she's doing her best. So one day, Abby, Caitlyn's stepmom, gets a call from Caitlyn asking if Abby and Lamb can watch Maisie, Caitlyn's daughter, because she's going to go run some errands. So Abby's like, yeah, of course, because she loves that baby. Like, of course. So Caitlyn drops the baby off, and then a couple hours go by, and then she calls again. Caitlyn calls the house again and asks, hey, can you keep her a little bit longer? I'm going to go to dinner with one of my friends I just bumped into. And so they're like, oh, yeah. And then I think she calls again and it's like, you know what, just keep her overnight because I don't want you to wait up for me because I don't know how long I'll be. So the way that Judy Blume writes this is like, what they didn't know was that 2 hours would turn into 2 days, would turn into 2 weeks, would turn into 2 months, would turn into 2 years. That Caitlyn leaves her child and like disappears. Nobody knows where she is, and everyone thinks that Victoria knows where Caitlyn is because they're best friends, but like Victoria honestly doesn't really know what's going on because she doesn't really live there. And at this point, after the wedding, Gus and Victoria start seeing each other and end up being a couple, and then they get married and they have a baby. So that Victoria is kind of like focused on her own shit while this is all going on. And then, yeah, with the baby being left with Abby, everyone is like, Victoria must know. And she's like, I don't know shit, bro. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Victoria gets a call from Caitlyn asking again. She's always asking her for something. Caitlyn asks Victoria if she will come and visit her in Europe. I forget where she is. She's like in Italy or some shit. If she'll come for like a week to come and see her. And at this point, Victoria is now married to Gus, and she's 6 months pregnant with their baby. And Gus is like, I don't know, like, I mean, if you want to go, like, I support it, but if not, like, fuck Caitlyn, you know, like, who cares? But Victoria, being the good person she is, always decides to go. So she goes to see Caitlyn for this whole week, and Caitlyn kind of like pretends like nothing was really happened, and Victoria tries to broach the subject of Maisie, of her daughter, like she never asks about her this whole time. And then Caitlyn does ask about her, like, you know, does she miss me? Does she look like me? It's all about her. And then Victoria's trying to like appease her and like ease her mind, but she's also trying to like Abby is being a good mom to her, but she doesn't want to say that because she doesn't want Caitlyn to take that as, well, you weren't a good mom. So she's trying to be very particular with her words and is just telling her, you know, she's happy, she's healthy, she's being taken care of. That's all that really matters, you know? And then she tells Caitlyn, I brought some pictures if you want to see them. And Caitlyn is like, not yet. After this interaction with Caitlyn, the book ends, okay? Caitlyn finally, on like the last day, Victoria shows her pictures. She's so like distant, Caitlyn. Then she makes a point to tell Victoria, I'm thinking about getting remarried again to some rich guy in Europe. I'm gonna take today to decide. And Victoria's like, okay, because Caitlyn's about to drop Victoria off at the airport.
And she's like, yeah, I'm going to go. Caitlyn says, I'm going to go on my sailboat and I'm going to make a decision today. And Victoria, like, doesn't really, like, put anything together. But, like, when I read that, I was like, a decision is being made. But I don't think it's a decision that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So Victoria gets home. And then a couple days later, they find Caitlyn's sailboat. And she's not on it. And she's nowhere to be found. They don't know where she is.
She's in the ocean, bro.
And yeah, so I'm pretty sure she removed herself from the equation, if you will. Yeah, so then cut to a year later, they have a memorial or like a service for Caitlyn. It's not necessarily a funeral because they don't know if she's dead. Victoria holds on to hope that one day she'll just randomly get a call from Caitlyn asking her to come somewhere. And she's trying to hold on to that. But I don't think that Caitlyn is hiding somewhere. I think she probably just took the ultimate escape and just said, I'm not one for this world. And you can definitely see it. Like, Caitlyn, throughout her whole life, really struggled and didn't really know her place and was constantly trying to find where she belonged. And it was really sad.
Final thoughts. The book was insane, right, guys? Y'all weren't fucking expecting all that, were you? I just wanted to show a little bit of a collage that I created after I finished reading. This kind of just captures the two main characters and a little bit of their stories and like the places that they go. On the left-hand side, we have Victoria's character. You see she's kind of living her best life. We got the house from the vineyard on the far left on the corner, and then we have New York City on the right-hand side with some Stevie Nicks. She references that they were listening to that during the story. And then we have some money with some bows on it to emphasize, the gifts that Victoria receives throughout this relationship with Caitlyn via her parents, as in the allowing her to go to, the vineyard every year, getting her a full ride scholarship to Harvard, things like that. Getting her into that private school. So the money as a gift, I felt like that was perfect for Victoria. And then we have the beach to emphasize, the island. And then over here on the right hand side, we have Caitlyn. So we have the escape artist. She is, the notorious escape artist of the story. Most of the characters are. So I figured that was a really fun little image we got. And then on the top right, we have Caitlyn in a bathing suit, kind of hunched over. It looks like she's a little bit depressed, to emphasize kind of her struggles at the end of the story. And then we have some visuals of like Rome and then Paris to emphasize her travels. We have pictures of Caitlyn just being a fun-spirited girl with the shirtless pic. And then the overboard paint sample that I have, I just thought that was a perfect summation because, as it shows on the bottom right, Caitlyn does eventually jump overboard, and that's where the story ends for her. So I just really wanted to put together a quick little snippet, just to summarize the story and give you guys kind of a little visual. I will be doing this for most of these, probably all of these, so yeah, stick around for it, and I'm excited to see what we'll come up with.